be quick. This one is liable to be quick. As you can see, it's late afternoon. I normally do Taco Tuesday, but I really don't have anything to talk about religion for a change, except to point out that Steven Anderson is acting like a deranged badger on steroids, just throwing a fit about everything that anybody is saying about him, while promising the wrath of God. Wrath of God is not the flex you guys think it is. So people who show up and talk about going to hell, that's not the flex you guys seem to think it is. Okay. My hair is doing some crazy things today. Hey, Celine. I want to talk a little bit about aging today, and there's a reason for that. Mostly because last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I stumbled into somebody else's live stream, somebody that I sometimes mention here. I like the person, I like them, but they got something very terribly wrong. And they were having a live stream about aging of all things. And I started to say to them that aging is a privilege, because it is. It's a privilege. It is a privilege. So let me introduce myself. My name is Suzanne Tickemeyer. I used to write a blog called No Longer Quivering, a column for a place called Pathos for over 10 years about high demand religious organizations. And religion is really super screwed up about aging. That's one of the things I want to say. They will put you in some kind of little teeny tiny box and tell you have to stay there. You have to act a certain way. You have to do whatever. And you don't have to do that. You know what you have to do when somebody tries to put you in a box? Put that box somewhere up of their anatomy. So that's really not how any of us should get around it. Aging is, and I said that, I started to say aging was a privilege, but before I could get to the second half of my thought pattern, this person's moderator banned me from even seeing when they were live streaming, much less ever commenting again, which is kind of funny because I didn't mean it in a bad way. What was going on was this person, their panel was complaining about aging. A bunch of 30 somethings complaining that they weren't looking forward to their looks going, they weren't looking forward to their bodies stopping working. There were so many things they were just losing their minds over about aging. Let me tell you something. It's not that bad. It's privilege. Like I said, not everybody makes it to an advanced age. If you'd have told me when I was their age that I would be as old as I am now, I would have never believed it, because I was kind of a wild child when I was young, number one. But number two, I just never believed that I would live to be that old with some of the health problems I had going on even way back then. So here's the thing. Everybody in society seems to push at 30, now 40 is the end of life, that there's nothing after that. Not only is there life on the other side of that 40 number, or 50 even, there's life on the other side of 60. One of the wonderful things about aging, about getting as old as I am, is the fact that you start really not giving a rat's you know what about life, as far as things like people judging you, people not liking your hair, your clothing, any of that. It just goes out the window. You just lose all sense of all sense of shame about those things. You're just like, I am doing me. If somebody has a problem with me doing me, that is their problem, not my problem. And there's something very freeing about that, reaching that part of your life. For me, it has been, at least. And not having to work, having the time to do all your hobbies, even if they're silly ones or deep and profound ones, whatever floats your boat and makes you happy, that's not illegal, and even maybe a couple of those illegal ones. Guess what? It's okay. One of the biggest things of what they kept saying was about their looks. Well, let me tell you something. Looks don't really matter. Looks as we age, change a lot, and I always laugh because so many times I see women start to look like men and men start to look like women. Our faces just change, and we all start looking way different than we used to look. And people that will judge you based upon how youthful you look are not anybody you want in your life. So you learn as you get older that none of that matters. You become less obsessed with your looks. You don't worry about running to get the latest Botox or whatever. You just settle into your face and yourself and you're happy. Most people, not everybody. I've known some that fight it like hell and make themselves quite miserable. There's no shame in having wrinkles or gray hair. It's actually kind of freeing to be outside of what society sex says is desirable. It's quite freeing. And there are always people that are going to find somebody out there is going to find you attractive enough to hang around with. I and you one of the big benefits is you're gonna know a lot more stuff than you did when you were younger. I found that out a couple of weeks ago when my husband and I and some others did a debate. Those of us who were older, we had our facts and figure and our information. The younger people, we had it right. The younger people did not have it. One of the younger people got quite angry with me because I whipped out my iPad and was fact checking in real time, and they did not like that. Um, Not only just looks and clothing, but one of the things that they were carrying on about was their bodies changing, getting older and more decrepit, and how they were already feeling that. There is no fighting the aging that goes on in our bodies. There's nothing at all, nothing. And that's cool because when you lose one ability, you're going to gain some other little small thing, is what I've learned. I've learned that there is no small deficit without a small benefit. Example, I'm slow as hell now when I'm walking and doing different things. Well, let me tell you something about that. I now look at stuff and notice things that I never did before. That's what I mean by I'm slow, but I'm seeing things whole new world, whole different way than I ever did before. The other night, I was walking the beach and just got tired. Went to my favorite little tiny estuary, this tiny stream that comes out of the forest, and just sat on the log in the tiny estuary and just watched everything. And I got to see several hundred hermit crabs all scuttling around. The old me before the thalamic stroke would have been pounding down the beach, walking fast and getting the exercise on. The new me kind of rambles and goes different places and sits down and looks at this and just, and it's a whole different thing. It's like I've been reborn to a different world. And so there's always that sort of thing going on. Even when shortly after the thalamic stroke and I had to have somebody push my biscuits around on a, wheelchair in the airport, it's kinda nice. For the first time, you're not freaking out, worried about, "How am I gonna get from terminal D to terminal A and catch my flight?" They're pushing you, and you're just going, "Doot, doot, doot," looking around because you're not having to pay attention, and that it's a benefit. It really is. And once I got my walker, I was just, like, so excited because I could walk around the airport again, and I didn't have to have anyone push me, and I could go at my pace. But it went right back to that, gotta get to the gate, gotta get to the gate thing, instead of not worrying about it and letting the person pushing me worry about which gate it was and how we were gonna get there. So that's what I meant. I just wanted to rant about that a real tiny little bit because of all the things that were said that I was just like, "You guys just aren't getting it. It's a privilege." People who die young are not privileged enough to experience and live the things that we who get to live long times do. I was thinking about that the day afterwards because I was taking a very long, very hot shower in the middle of the day after my scorching hot beach walk. And that middle of the day hot shower is the greatest luxury known to mankind, I'm convinced. It's one of those things that I absolutely love, and that I love it because I don't have to worry about how much hot water I'm going to use because I have a heat on demand tankless heater. I don't care how much electric it uses. There's nobody waiting for me to get out of the shower so they can shower. It is transformative. That's all I can say. And that is something that before I stopped working and just started puttering around doing my own thing, I wouldn't have dreamed of doing, was taking a middle of the day shower. So again, you are going to lose some things most definitely, but there are other things that are coming there. You're going to be going, wow, I had no idea, no idea at all. Okay, and I had taken notes on this. I started writing a piece about it. I probably will. But it was kind of funny because they were so dreading it and just losing their minds over their already experiences at the relatively young ages, and that upset they would lose their looks on top of everything else. And it's just like not worth a hill of beans in the long run. Okay. And some of this I learned because of having a chronic ailment. Okay. After I was diagnosed with mastocytosis 18 years ago, my life changed in drastic ways. But I had been struggling with that change because I'd been sick for 2 or 3 years before, and they couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And knowing was a good thing, but it took some putting things down and realizing that things were going to change for me quite drastically, and they did. And I was pretty upset for a while. I cried and had a bad attitude and was depressed for quite some time before I finally started to pull myself together and say, "It is what it is. Let's deal with it. Let's make it work. Let's do that instead of fighting this. Don't fight it." Um, One of the crazy things about life is the nature of life itself is just change. And that's what you're fighting, is you're fighting change. And you know what they say, you can't fight City Hill. Well, guess City Hall, you can't fight aging either. And let me shout out to Manya one more time. I have never been hooked on drugs, girl. You are out of your mind if you're saying that about me. I'm not in recovery from that. I'm in recovery from toxic religion. And I get real tired of repeating that for the idiot hordes out there that like to gossip. Yes, I do live in Costa Rica. No, I've never been hooked on drugs. In fact, I don't even like the feeling that you get with certain drugs at all. Hate it. I don't drink. I don't do any of that. Why? Because I know that I came from a whole house full of alcoholics, and I don't want to end up like that because I've seen what that looks like for a lot of people, and it is not positive. When you get my age, you don't get this stuff catches up with you. Anyway, that's it. I just wanted to rant a little while. Love you guys. I'm just gonna go ahead on and go. Oh, okay, not yet. In my area, there are some women in their 40s who use hard drugs and get drunk regularly, look older than some of us in our 60s. Debbie, that is the truth of the matter. That's why I say, try to live a pretty clean life if possible. My mother, though, was the opposite. She used to drink pretty heavily, and she kept her looks quite far into her age. So some of it is genetic, but some people's genetics are more affected by drugs and alcohol than others. Yeah, I've been lucky. The genes that I came from with my mother and my father, they aged pretty well, I thought. Well, my father made it to 61, but he was a quite handsome man. Um, so that's it. Just don't fear aging and realize life itself has changed. Thank you, my friends, and I will see you next time.